the Progress program was in place for 3 or 4 years, and it kind of went away for a couple of years, but we're really happy to be able to bring it back next year for the 2011 academic year. And it is kind of a unique model. We partnered before with the Hartford Foundation, and it's a rotation model. And so it's focused on working in some kind of site that has a gerontology focus. And we have a really nice array of hub sites that have come back or stepped up to the plate to mentor the students. And so it'll be a 24-hour field placement per week. And the first quarter you'll be exclusively in that site. Then in the second and third quarters, you'll have one day where you're doing rotations. So you may be doing rotations within your own field placement. For instance, if it's a hospital where they have clinics and different kinds of things, you could do that. It could be at the VA, for instance, where they have a lot of different opportunities, and you probably wouldn't go out of that site. In other places you would, and you would choose from some of the other agencies that are serving older adults to get a wide variety of experiences. So that's primarily what it is, and there is a scholarship attached, and it'll be approximately $5,000 for the year. And so the application process is pretty straightforward. We're going to ask that you fill out an online application form with just kind of basic information, and an essay that'll be about 2 pages more or less. It's by character, but I tried to look it up online and see how many pages it would be, describing your interest in working with older adults, and then another little paragraph where you're talking about your qualifications of working with older adults, and then going to your field instructor currently to ask them to fill out an application form that's even briefer, 500 characters in 2 places about.
At my internship now, which is obviously appropriate.
Yeah, and then we'd be looking at your grades and doing interviews. Let me see what else we have on here. Have to be enrolled full-time. There's a cohort, so there'll be 5 students total next year, 4 that are currently in placement here, and then we'll save 1 spot for an advanced standing student. So the cohorts will meet quarterly to do some sort of special events, kind of
training.
Yeah, bring people in, specialists, to talk about certain subjects and topics, and we may ask the students to put together some of those kind of trainings. And our field instructors will be involved in that, so you'll be networking with some pretty, really skilled social workers in the field of gerontology. Yeah, so that's kind of in a nutshell what it is.
What kind of, what's the range of the types of placements, I guess?
Well, as I mentioned, there's hospitals that have senior clinics.
Right.
The VA working with older vets. There's a hospice or 2 involved, probably. Let's see, who else do we have? I mentioned the home and community-based services. Have you ever heard of the PACE program?
Maybe, but I don't know what it is.
It's a model of bringing services to people either in a day program or in their own homes to support them, and I call it kind of a diversion plan from a skilled nursing facility, so it keeps people in place. And
so like home patient visit type things, like what's a day facility?
a day program.
Day program.
It's well, for instance, it's TLC, total long-term care. They have 2 or 3 programs, maybe 4 places where people are picked up with a bus and they go to the day program, and they may have they'll have activities and lunch, and they may get some medical attention or treatment. They may do some hygiene.
Okay.
And then, that allows the primary caregivers some time to work or be at home and have some respite.
Yeah.
So there's a combination of clinical opportunities and community opportunities. There's one of the programs with the state has agreed to partner with us where it would be a much bigger system, sort of focus on issues of aging, that sort of thing.
Behavioral health.
Yeah, I'm definitely, I think, a clinical person opposed to, but just all this stuff with policy right now is making my head turn.
So you're pretty clear on your direction.
I mean, but then it also helps me like question myself too. You know, some classes I'm like, well, actually, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I keep seeming to come back to
Uh-huh.
clinical, I guess. But
So the agencies that have agreed to be progress agencies are also agencies for us in general. And so they have had students placed with them, whether or not a student was a progress student. So they're,
field placement.
yeah, agencies are well known to us and we've worked with them. And they have agreed now that they would participate in this program if they matched with a student who was interested and who was a progress student. But they also may have students interning with them who are not part of the progress program. But as Kim mentioned, students who are in the progress program meet together as a group for additional trainings, additional didactic sessions, that sort of thing, as do the supervisors. And so the supervisors also are working together as a cohort,
That's good.
which is one of the really cool things about the program
Yeah.
that people like.
Is there, I don't know if this is a good question, especially for being video, but is there a certificate? Because part of me is afraid to put myself in a box, you know, to a point, but I don't think that there's an adult and late life certificate, is there?
There currently isn't. That doesn't mean there wouldn't be one in the future, but there currently isn't. And as far as putting yourself in a box, that's a concern a lot of students have.
That's always been my thing.
Well, even about choosing a track, a particular track, or
Right.
a certificate, and it's true that many students who are in the progress program go on to work in agencies that work with the aging or elderly because that's really their interest. But we also have a former progress student who's working with children. While you would focus on the person who is an elderly person, your work would be as it is with any internship. You would work with families, you would work with children of the people that were your primary client. You end up with a basic skill set actually that you could transfer anywhere. And so because you would be in the clinical track, for example, doesn't mean ultimately you're going to work clinically. You may work
Right.
as an administrator, and because you focused on the elderly in your internships doesn't mean that ultimately that's where you'll be. You might be, and you would hope to be if that's what you really wanted to do, but it doesn't mean you couldn't work elsewhere.
I wish we could have, 5 internships.
I'm glad you don't, but
We're gonna
Well-
get some extra opportunities if you do go forward and are in the progress program.
and actually, yeah, this is the closest program you have to having a variety of internships because of the rotation model.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I guess because I did a year of volunteering at San Diego Hospice. Wow, it's like really long. San Diego Institute of Palliative Medicine. And, I really wanted to do that, and that's kind of what brought me into social work. And also my favorite class in undergrad, I was psych major, surprise, and it was attitudes towards death and dying, and I never thought for a second that could be a job or anything. I come from a corporate conservative family that was forced to, does not understand what I'm doing here. I'm not making millions of dollars. So
You're not alone with that. That's
yeah,
for sure.
it's funny, but it's at the same time I'm the oldest of 4. I have a brother with a lot of developmental behavioral issues, and so I don't know, I've always, and I kind of had to play a mothering role in my siblings for a while, and I really love kids, so I feel like I kind of wanted to do like an internship with kids or something like that. I was wondering is it possible for me to kind of get a job over the summer, maybe doing something with kids and like be applying to this program and withdraw, or not a possibility? Just in case I decide like maybe I don't want to be on the track after all.
Well, the process will be, we'll ask for the applications by the end of February, and then a group of people will review, and then we'll do interviews. And we hope to have the interviews kind of coincide with the time about field fair. So then we're going to have you, if you're selected kind of in that first round, along with 3 other people, you go out and interview at the places that are going to be the hub sites, based on your interest in any particular ones. So it'd be kind of a 2-way street. They'll be interviewing you just like any
Right.
other field field internship interview. And so we'll have a list of backup candidates probably, but if the agency agrees to have you there and you agree at that time.
Yeah,
then
that's
probably-
just rude.
It's actually, well, you could call it that, but it's actually something we ask any student who's looking for
Not
any
to do,
internship to
yeah.
really think through what you think you're interested in, and if you make a commitment, that's a commitment that you're honoring, because the agency then is telling everyone else no, if they're choosing you. And so if you're uncertain about which population you want to work with, then that would be the first step, is really sorting that out
Yeah.
for yourself.
Because, I mean, it's all I know in the social work world right now, and I don't want to. I mean, this has been my thing since I was little. You'd ask me what my favorite color was, and I thought it was like my final answer for life, and I'd freak out. Wouldn't be able to answer. But
Most things are not
it's
that
like
fun.
talk about like anxiety from like an early age. But you know, you look at my Facebook profile, there's nothing on it either. But I don't know. I feel like I need to dabble in something else before I can necessarily commit, because I don't feel committed. I mean, I do. At the same time, I love my internship and I love what I'm doing. And, you know, I just went to bereavement, like spousal support group, and that was amazing. And, you know, yesterday I went to Broomfield and visited this lady who's clinically depressed beyond, you know, she's addicted to pills, and she's just the wife of her husband who's in hospice. And it's like, I love being able to do this for people, and but then I also, you know, want to try other things too.
Sure. So that's a decision to think about. Actually, whether you do this or whether just in terms of thinking toward next year, it's good you're going to all these different meetings, and you'll get a better sense of what each track means, what focus you might want to have. And then when we have field fair, when agencies come and present themselves to
Right.
you, or when you in early March get access to the database that lists all the different agencies, you can really see what's out there. But in terms of timing, there are some decisions that have to be made
Right.
Prior to August, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And so, so I would say your first step would be to really think through, do you want to spend your second year in an agency whose primary focus is gerontology? And if you decide yes, you do, then what we would do is help you sort out of our agencies, which one would give you the most, it sounds like perhaps family work or traditional clinical work, those kind of things, because you've already had the hospice experience. And some of the agencies that we have more opportunity to work with family members than others because their focus is different. So that would be one of the conversations you and Kim would have about what are the agencies and what could you do in those agencies. But again, getting some clarity about that, whether you really would be interested in committing to doing something like this would be something we would ask you to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes sense. I just, you
Well,
know,
it's
it's
only
like I
early-
know I definitely really love this stuff.
Right.
But I'm just afraid that I also love other stuff that I don't get to. And, you know, this is really like the best time to be able to do that. So I don't know.
It's a
Obviously, I have
good
some
thing to
sorting
look
out
at.
to do, yeah.
It's the best time to do one of two things, and they're equally as important, just depending on what's the best fit for you. It's the best time to really hone in on some skills you already have with a population that you know you want to work with. That's one route some students go. It's also, the best time to try something totally new in an internship, and that's a
I also feel like I could try something new at an internship and then regret not having done this, because I know I definitely love this stuff. So I don't know how I'm going to figure it out either, but.
I would say that you can't go wrong in your decision, really, because if you don't do this and you do something else, it will take you in a different, down a different path, and you will not be on this path. But if you choose this path, then you also are giving up that path,
And if I
at
do
least for now.
families path, and once again, like the most broad one, I can still be doing this type of work. So I don't know, just a lot of.
The other thing to keep in mind is that if you were to do the progress program, you can do it with with most all of the other tracks. You don't have to do the adult late life track to do the
Oh.
progress program. You can do the families track, you could do the adult late life track, you could do, child welfare isn't really, and high-risk youth don't fit too well, but the families track and the late life track, or the community track, they all have had progress students in the past,
Okay.
yeah. So, what other questions?
I mean, they're all questions for myself.
The questions for ourselves.
I mean, I'm also considering, I do really well, and I don't ever really, I'm pretty down, I'm like not, I don't never speak highly of myself like this, but I'm very confident that I'm very good at, in trauma and crisis situations, and so I'm thinking of also getting the trauma certificate, but I don't know, like, if you guys know much about that, and how many classes that entails or anything. I know there's like a thing on it, but.
Right, right.
I don't, but I might.
Yeah, there's 2 classes in the certificate. There's a sort of an overview class and then more specific class. So to do that, if you do that certificate, you actually can still do the progress program. You can't do like the trauma certificate and the animal certificate and the Latino certificate, but you could do both. If you do a certificate
I think trauma's the one I'm the most attracted
yeah,
to.
and that would, those become your electives then, that you take, those 2 classes become
Okay.
2 of your electives. Yeah, and I would go to the meeting if I were you to hear
Yeah.
how it's structured and what they're teaching.
And I think they have to have so many client hours with trauma.
Well, you have to have contact with people who have been in traumatic situations, and it's.
I've had a lot of already.
And those
and-
people have that
Yeah.
we're working with,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
mean,
one way or
And
another.
medical issues and dying are put people into category of experiencing trauma many times.
Yeah, because, I mean, I was thinking also, I think I'm really attracted to hospitals, which is funny because people, you know, a lot of people hate hospitals, but it's just like pieces that I took from, you know, in hindsight, looking back over before I applied to the program, and I realized all the different things that I liked from my experiences. I did a study abroad public health program in Dominican Republic, and, you know, they have very limited to no resources, and you see the hospitals, and, you know, we went into the really rural clinics and followed around a doctor, and, you know, watched someone have diabetes, they have no money, there's no medicine, so they just cut off part of her foot every day, and, you know, all of that. And that's the kind of stuff that I am good at handling, that kind of crisis situation too. And, you know, I don't have like a lot of shock. I mean, I guess there's some reasons why we're all in social work, but from our experiences. But yeah, I've never really been someone who gets like scared away, which is also probably why I'm interested in, you know, death and dying, which is
It's a good strength.
It's a very good strength.
a lot of people aren't.
So it sounds like, Devin, you have
I feel like this is
you have 100 balloons in the air of interest, and which is great. And hopefully you will always have 100 balloons in the air of interest. But what I want to say is you're learning about those 100 balloons doesn't all have to happen here while you're in school, and it won't all happen here. And that there's opportunity, if you take it throughout your entire career, to get expertise in what some of those interests are. But what the structure of a graduate program does insist on, at some point anyway, is you have to pull one down.
Yeah.
And you have to say, okay, I'm going to start with this, and then learn what I can about all these other things in the context of this. So I think the first decision, again, is...
and I'm meeting with my advisor this afternoon.
Good, good.
To continue this therapy.
Who's your
session.
advisor?
Daniel Britt.
Oh, okay, I was going to say, is it me? I don't think so. I have advised the appointments, how tacky with that.
Yeah,
Who's
I
your
know.
advisor? It's you.
Like, I don't know how I was
That's a
gonna
good
say
idea,
the
that's good to
first
talk
person.
with him too. But please don't think that anything that you decide to do, one, is going to pigeonhole you, because it's not. It will help you gain some expertise, but it does not dictate what you do forever.
I was saying, I think I was just telling Kim about how personally when I have been looking for therapists and how there's so many, you know, and you just go online, you go through your insurance and you just click on their websites and just judge them, you know, like based off of that, because it's, the, you know, fastest way to get information. But you know, if they said that their focus was adult and late life, you know, that's not something that I'd be looking for, and I would probably next them to the next.
Right.
And not that that's, you know, that's just, God forbid if I don't know what I'm gonna do, so.
Right, but you choose, as a therapist, you choose your focus. And so,
Right.
somebody who was working with that population of late life chooses to do that. It doesn't mean that their skills only allow them to do that.
Right, but I'm saying
That's how
from
they've
an
organized their
unprofessional
practice.
eye, just, you know, someone who knows nothing about the profession, when I was looking for therapists, you know, years ago, I'd just be like, not going to that person.
Right, and it wouldn't have fit for you.
Right.
But if you think of yourself in the therapist role.
Right, I wouldn't be like
You-
advertising that if I wasn't
Right.
only focusing on that.
You
And
would
I've
mo-
seen therapists who go across the,
Oh, yeah.
all ages, and it's like,
Because
that's
you-
interesting.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, you have extreme focus from like childhood to like, you
And
know.
sometimes they age into it, you know, it's like, I'm
Yeah.
interested in this now because my parents aging, or, you know.
Plus your interest and expertise in grief and loss cuts across every population.
Yeah, because that, I mean,
Yeah.
everyone experiences that.
Right.
It's true.
And everyone experiences death, and that's why it's such a big deal to me that, and you know, by the way, the worst pickup line ever, I'm sure, like, I don't know how long you've been doing this, but at a bar when people ask you what you're interested in,
Right.
you're like, oh, I do hospice work, and it's like,
Right.
it's a
Conversation.
buzzkill.
I worked at child protection at Children's Hospital for many years, and that was never went over.
But it's like death and
In
dying and
terms
old
of,
people, and they just think you sit there changing their diapers,
Right.
and you're like, okay, no.
So if you have questions, you have Kim's information. She's the best person to be in touch with. And even if they're these kinds of questions, if I'm thinking about this or I'm thinking about that, I mean, no one is going to try to talk you into doing anything. When you go to all the track meetings, so they will all tell you they're the best track. And they are. But I mean, it really is about fit. What's the fit for you?
I know, that's why I've been so honest, even though it's been recorded.
Well, they will slice and dice.
Just because we're
this
the
recording.
only ones here, so.
And we may not even use this, who knows? We may just
Yeah, because it's really just like about me.
have you talk into and we would never have you on this without your permission, so it's mainly about Kim
I don't
explaining
care.
the program.
I mean, it's just, it might even be refreshing for some people to know that not everybody knows what they're doing, because
You know what, most people don't know.
I know, but everyone acts like they know.
I'm sure they do, but they don't know.
I
right?
assumed I'd be in here with everybody who's like 100%, you know, asking like very
Mhm.
specific questions,
No.
and then it's like just me being like, I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I would say most people don't. Or if they do know, then they go to these 2 weeks of meetings and then they're like, I don't know. So, yeah.
Well, thanks for coming today.
Yeah.
So
Thanks for
I will send out
doing
the
this.
application for the field instructor and for you to take a look at, just based on your interest expressed today.
And is there just separate about, well, no, I don't know, I mean, this is totally irrelevant, but about just getting jobs over the summer, is there, I mean, do I just talk to like Kate Ross and stuff about finding, you know, a fit? Because I mean, I don't really know what, because I want to try something different, you know, maybe, I don't know.
You know what I would do is go, do you know Campo? I would go to the Campo website.
Campo?
Which is the Colorado Association of Nonprofit Organizations. Campo, CANPO dot, maybe com. And they list, most nonprofits that are hiring list with Campo. So that's a really good place to start job hunting. That's what I would do if I was looking for any kind of a job in a nonprofit.
I know, I'm worried to try to take on another job while I'm in the program
Yeah.
to try to figure it out, you know, I
Mhm.
feel like it's just too much, maybe.
Right.
Definitely too many emotions.
Right. And time. Time is, but
Well,
you know what
time,
you need to do. in
That's
terms of-
obvious, yeah.
Yeah.
Time's gonna be an issue regardless.
Right.
Well, thank you so much.
Okay,
Devin.
well, yeah.
Good luck in your